And just the general rule, if you think you're not making progress or you know it because you are tracking, don't work out more frequently, work out less frequently. It's counterintuitive for more people. I don't have enough this, I need more, I need to do more. But you actually, in this scenario, because our body adapts optimally when we give it a high intensity dose of exercise and a long break, just extend that break and the results will reflect it.
We are about to launch one
solo round.
Truth, not trends.
What's up, everybody? Truth, not trends. In the house.
In the building.
That's right. We are virtual today. We're all over the place. I'm here. He's there. What's going on, everybody?
Jesse Schmidt, Liam Bauer. This is the podcast where we help you maximize your strength as safely
And efficiently
as possible. My name's Jesse Schmidt, and I've been a strength coach for 1,898 days.
Oh, man, we are cracking close to the 2,000 mark. It's coming quick.
So close.
It's going to be exciting. We're going to have a party. There's going to be streamers. It's going to be we'll have a piñata.
That sounds good. Bounce house.
Yeah, a bouncy house is required. I can pick on some little kids again. That didn't sound good out of context.
That sounded real weird.
That did. All right, people, what's happening? You know, we are here at TNTHQ. At least I am. Jesse is remote. Cappy is somewhere in Cappyville. And we're talking about overtraining today. Overtraining, people. But before we talk about overtraining, we got to talk to you a little bit about some of our partners in crime. Jesse's going to tell you all about our friends in the nutritious, delicious food department.
If you are living in the Bay Area, especially the East Bay, Oakland, California, and you're busy and you need to eat healthy, you need to check out Low-Cal Foods Cali. That's foods with a Z. Low-Cal makes pre-prepared, microwave-ready, healthy, customizable meals just for you. So while you're raising the family and crushing it in the boardroom, you make sure that your diet and nutrition doesn't go slipping.
That's right.
So they're going to make you some delicious meat and veggies. They can customize it. Maybe you don't like meat or veggies. You could eat one or the other. You could customize it however you like, or you can get one of their pre-made meals. They have a ton of them. They have a great app. They have a great website. Check them out. Use the discount code TNT Strength 5 to get 5% off your order in Oakland and enjoy the gains. Get on that gain train with Low-Cal Foods.
Yeah, and while you're on the gain train, if you're training at home or you're wondering, I love working out, but I want to be able to work out at home. I don't know what to get. I don't know what kind of tools to use. You know what you need to get? You need to get yourself the Harambe system, the best band-based training system ever devised, created by our friend Khalid Borbeya, aka Boo Robbie. That's right. And he has built the coolest strength training device ever conceived that comes with amazing high quality materials, the stainless steel bar, these indestructible slings with stainless steel. You can adjust them. You can do any barbell exercise you can imagine. You can do bench presses, deadlifts, rows, shoulder presses, squats, front squats, back squats, single leg, double leg, one-legged, all kinds of cool things. It comes with different kinds of attachments, different ropes. You can be progressively overloaded. It takes up to 1,000 pounds of resistance. It's very, very similar to free weights. It's safe, it's efficient, smooth and quiet, takes up hardly any space. Go to the Harambe System website, take advantage of the TNT discount, enter TNT, get some swag, and get 15% off anything and everything you order from Harambe.
And now tune into the TNT Strength podcast episode about overtraining, be able to recognize the symptoms of overtraining and prevent them, stop them in their tracks so you can keep on riding that gain train.
Boom, baby.
Ready, set, go.
All right. Am I starting?
You're starting. Liam, you look tired, man. Have you been overtraining?
Overtraining. We're talking about overtraining.
Well, you feel like you're overtraining.
You got to get some pendulum.
You need to get yourself a full night of rest. So reach for the sleeping pills.
Give me some extra melatonin.
So knock me in the head with a 2x4.
All right. We're talking a little bit about overtraining, people. Overtraining. What is overtraining? It's literally training more than you need to train.
Somewhere overtraining.
All right. So overtraining is a problem for many athletes and non-athletes alike. It's not uncommon for people to underestimate the impact that intense and or frequent training sessions may have on their limited recovery resources. What do we talk about all the time?
Keeping accurate records of all aspects of your training will help you to spot and possibly prevent or at least minimize the impact of overtraining in your current routine. By closely monitoring the impact that adjustments in volume, frequency, and intensity have on your body's ability to progress and improve, you will learn to create programs which provide optimal results for your efforts.
That is right.
Poetry from Liam Taku Bauer.
So here are some things to think about. Which might help to ensure you get the most from your current and future training sessions.
Drum roll, please.
Number 1, developing training tolerances. Okay, this is just basically getting conditioned to whatever the work you're doing. Physiologically, athletes must begin their training program slowly, right? If you're a beginner, you have moderate intensities. You're going to adapt to the overload. You're going to adapt to the number of sessions. Each athlete is an individual and may respond to the same stimulus differently, right? So you can't base your stuff on something you read in a magazine, saw in a book, a video. You got to keep your own records and only work about comparing yourself to yourself. The key point is that each individual must be physiologically and psychologically ready to advance to a greater level of intensity. Otherwise, the body will respond with overuse or overtraining symptoms.
Right. So most of our clients here at TNT train twice per week with 2 to 3 days of rest in between. So Monday, Thursday, resting from the strength training on Tuesday, Wednesday, resting from the strength training Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then they do it all again. But some people need more recovery time than that. And so we do have a smaller number of people who train once per week for whatever reason. Maybe they feel like, they need 4 days to recover, or they need a full week to recover and they're still sore from their workout or something like that. And so if that's you, and we know about, people like Big Jim Flanagan, that guy trains like once every week, once every month, so.
Yeah, I think he says he trains every 2 weeks.
So one full body workout every 2 weeks, where most of our clients are doing 2 full body workouts each week. So, just like we said in that opening intro there, you have to track your results, and that should be the thing that dictates, if you make a shift from your regular training routine.
Yeah, and again, you have to keep in mind, what are you training for? If you're an athlete, sometimes there's times where you may need to adjust volume, frequency, intensity, and so forth. You're peaking for a competition. There's all kinds of things, but most sort of typical people can get away training literally as little as once every 7 to 10 days is a pretty common thing. The first, group to really shine a light on that, Mike Mentzer started talking about it back in the 90s, but the first people to get a lot of attention was, of course, Doug McGuff and John Little with their book, Body by Science, which is a great book, which talks about basically that minimal effective dose concept. And they were recommending most people, based on their research, training once every 7 to 10 days. Now, again, this seems crazy to a lot of people until you experiment with it and find out that basically you come back fresh and ready every time. We've talked many times about some of our really strong guys who have gotten down at some point to training their whole body once a month. Half their body take 2 weeks off, the other half of their body take 2 more weeks off. So literally their entire body gets trained once a month. Clarence Bass, who's a legendary strength athlete and author, has tried all kinds of things over the years. And in some of his more current work, he got his training down to basically 1 really hard strength training workout a week and 1 really hard conditioning workout a week. And he says that he wishes that he started doing that like 30 years ago, because he's confident that it would have given great results, much sooner if he had just bothered to keep honing down to that point.
Yeah.
So yeah, people are shocked or just think it can't be possible that you can make progress with that such little frequency. But the most important thing is not being trapped by the Gregorian calendar and feeling like I got to fit it in that 7-day period. I got to, instead, the optimal thing to me is having a floating training frequency like Jay Vincent. If people see him on Instagram, he says that he trains his whole body once every 6 days. So he's found, the right amount of time that works for him. And that's really important is if you have that ability to be in a floating schedule, to me, that's the best. Not being, how do I fit it in my week, but just letting that training happen where it works best for you.
Yeah, I think we're likely to have some skeptics listening to this episode who train very frequently. Like maybe you're doing a split routine, push pull legs, and you could be doing it twice a week. So you're training, 6 out of 7 days and taking a rest day on Sunday. And if you're doing that, then that's totally fine. Just recognize you still are pretty much doing what we're talking about right now. Because if you're doing a push day on Monday and then pull on Tuesday and legs on Wednesday, and then you're doing push day again on Thursday, those muscles that you worked on Monday have rested for 2 full days, right? So you still are getting a full rest. If you're doing something else, like maybe you're doing a full body workout Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and you've been doing that for a while, you might want to try switching it up and taking more rests in between, like just cut out one of those workouts, cut out the Wednesday workout and just go Monday, Friday and see and track your progress. That's something, I mean, it sounds so simple, but most people just don't track. And so they don't know if they sort of just guess at it, if I'm making progress or not. And we're going to get into some of those more kind of qualitative, factors in overtraining, but challenge yourself and actually track it and see, are you making progress?
Yeah. I mean, the other thing we've talked about many times too is, those guys that are on like the 5-day splits or the 6-day splits, or even 7 days a week, there's systemic fatigue, right? There's not just a local fatigue. Like I did a push and I didn't do it for 2 or 3 days, but you're getting systemic fatigue that's piling up in your body that you can't escape from. And again, if you're a natural, non-augmented athlete, right, who's not supplementing with exogenous substances, chances are that program won't deliver indefinitely. Recognizing that, paying attention to how the numbers are, how things are responding, and you will see, sometimes people also will wear out. They'll get a cold, they'll get some little niggling injury, and they don't realize that that's a direct effect of their overtraining. They just think, man, my training was going awesome, and then I got a cold and it messed me up, right? Or I got the flu or whatever. They don't realize that they're actually opening themselves up to be more susceptible because their system has been depleted and their immunity is down. And now, their body is basically saying, you're not listening to me, so I'm just going to stop you.
What is that? Just oxidative stress? Just accumulation?
It could be all kinds of things, but we want to talk about, how do we know what overtraining is? What should we be looking for, right? How do we detect it? It can be difficult to detect with some people, but researchers have found that overtrained athletes exhibit certain physiological and psychological characteristics. So some of the physiological characteristics you can keep an eye out for is obviously number one is like just a decrease in performance, right? If you used to be able to do 10 reps at 225 and for some reason it's gone down, you can only get 7 or your numbers are going down. That's usually a pretty hard and clear sign that things are not working. You're losing body weight, even though you feel like, wow, I'm training, my weight should be up, I should be adding muscle. Instead, it's not working. Your muscle soreness is not dissipating. It's actually slowly increasing from session to session. Super extreme soreness and stiffness the day after hard training session or 2 days after may be normal, but if that's sort of a recurring theme, that could be an issue. Minor, again, like I mentioned before, minor injuries. If you're an athlete, you might notice that your speed or reaction time is dropping. Coordination, your techniques are getting more sloppy. So also a really, really easy thing to do, and this is something a lot of people don't do, but with athletes, I highly recommend this, is if you track your resting heart rate. If you get really good at knowing what your resting heart rate is, and it's really easy to do, you just get up in the morning after a normal, calm night's sleep, and you take it when you wake up. Do this for a week or so you get an average. And so let's just say your average is 60 beats a minute, just making that up. And you're 60 beats a minute. Now you've been training for a while, you notice you wake up, your heart rate is at 80, right? It's like way up from your normal resting rate. That's usually a sign that things are not working properly. So blood pressure too, but heart rate specifically can be a sign that you're not recovered. And then again, I talked earlier, the resistance to colds and flu and things like that. You start to, they beat you down. Sometimes people lose their appetite. Sometimes even their lymph nodes are swollen, and sometimes it can affect how you evacuate. Right, you can get constipated. You have diarrhea, all kinds of things.
That's a funky one.
Yeah, that's no fun.
So it seems to me that from the physiological kind of overtraining characteristics here, probably the one that's going to pop up the most is the simplest and the first one, which is you're just not seeing the results that you were seeing. And especially if you're like early on in your training program, you should pretty much be gaining strength every single session.
Yeah,
demonstrating more strength. So that example of I bench press 225 10 times. The next time you should be able to do 11. Time after that, you should be able to do 12, on and on, almost infinitely for a while. I mean, years.
I used to keep, I have kept training journals since the beginning, and I can clearly remember a time when I was on the program where I was training very frequently. I was training five days a week, and I was breaking it all up, push, arm day, chest day, whatever. In my chest day, I was stuck at 75-pound dumbbell press for 7 reps. Every week I'd go back and I couldn't get past 7 reps every week. Everything else, other things were, and the thing that was making the progress the most, not surprisingly, was my lower body, because it was actually getting the most rest. Right? There's a lot more overlap on upper body. If you're doing arms and shoulders and chest all on separate days, you're really constantly working the same little muscles over and over again. So I was trapped at the chest. Every week I'd be stuck. I couldn't get more than 7 I didn't know why. Finally, I had that epiphany, like, wow, maybe maybe I need more rest, right? And once I did that, boom, the numbers start to go up. So keeping records is just so helpful across the board for that sort of thing.
And just the general rule, if you think you're not making progress, or it because you are tracking, don't work out more frequently, work out less frequently. It's counterintuitive for more people, because we're like, oh, I don't have enough money, I need to make more money. I don't have enough this, I need more, I need to do more. But you actually, in this scenario, because our body adapts optimally when we give it a high intensity dose of exercise and a long break, just extend that break and the results will reflect it.
If you're someone who does like more frequency, you really love going to the gym 6 days a week or full body 3 times a week or whatever, and you just like sticking to that routine, the best thing to do is plan breaks into your schedule that are built in. So like we have a guy I was working with, he wanted to be in the gym 3 days a week, full body. So what I did was I had him take the 4th week off. Every 3 weeks, he would take a week off. So train hard 3 weeks, take a week off. Train hard 3 weeks, take a week off. Other guys I recommend every 6 or 8 weeks, they take 10 days off. Take a whole 10 days off. It sounds crazy, but it actually will recharge your batteries. I guarantee you'll come back and set records on everything every time you come back from those layoffs. So that's really important.
Booyah. Hey, what are those guys doing here?
Whenever I feel like I'm stalling out on my bench press, I know I need a new strength curve.
Whether you're stalling out on the road or stalling out in the gym, you need something with great engineering.
That's right. And
So look for the pendulum. Pendulum.
Not just your average strength machines.
No, they have smooth strength curves.
Amazing rigidity.
And did we mention the engineering's fantastic?
That's right. Not to mention, they come in cool colors.
Like red.
And silver. Well, that was kind of weird. What was that all about? Back to the interview.
Tell them about the psychological characteristics.
So psychologically, these are a little bit more subtle, right? If you're not, the weights are there, you can see them, you can feel them, you count the reps. Our entire ego rests upon, getting an extra rep compared to the last workout we did. The psychological characteristics of overtraining are a little bit less prominent, I would say, but here are some of them. Number 1, depression or irritability. Now, if you're just an irritable person in general, like Liam, it might be really tough. I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. I had to give him a cheap shot there. I'm horsing around over here, but yeah, I mean, if you're feeling lethargic,
if you're a grumpy fucker, it's hard to tell if you're more grumpy.
if you're just feeling lethargic or depressed or irritable, it might just be from overtraining. So in a lot of these things, you got to just look yourself in the mirror and say, am I making progress? Am I different when I wake up in the morning? have I been doing marathon training sessions lately, and do I need more rest? Along the same lines, Liam's got simple chores are a burden. So that goes along with the irritability, anxiety, right? Increased anxiety and inability to relax, unusual sleeping patterns. All of these things, right? Like if you're not sleeping, as sleep is, and we've talked about this in previous podcasts, sleep is where our brain cleans itself and our body recovers. We need to sleep to keep our certain circadian rhythms in rhythm. So, not sleeping full nights can, or, getting to sleep at the same time every night, right? If the time you go to bed is significantly different, on training nights, that could be another reason that you're, feeling some of these psychological repercussions. And then I think this is the most obvious one, is that you just don't want to train.
Yeah.
Right. You used to, Liam talks about this all the time. If you used to look forward to, doing your workout, which you should, because it's that anabolic, stimulus that's gonna make your body bigger and stronger and faster and
Look good naked.
more energetic and sexy. And that's right, summer bikini and mankini ready.
That's right, Eric McKay. We're talking to you and your Denny Stone bikini bottoms.
Yeah. Denny Stone lifting. If you guys don't follow Eric McKay on Instagram, you really got to go check this guy out. He's about to lift 600 plus pounds, 700?
Yeah, I think it's 700.
700 pounds of Denny Stone in Scotland in just a couple months here.
He's training.
It's going to be very, very exciting.
Follow him over there at No Bull Strength on Instagram.
Yeah. So if you're feeling any of these psychological characteristics, take a look in the mirror and maybe make a shift. It's just, there's nothing that taking, there's no drawback to taking a couple days or a week off from training. You're not going to lose your gains. In fact, you'll probably gain more gains. We see it all the time at TNT. People take a week or 2 weeks or a month off to go on vacation. They come back. They say the same thing every time. Oh, I'm going to be so weak. I didn't work out a single time. And we say, great, you're well rested.
Most of the time what happens, they set records.
Booyah.
So the other thing to think about is, right, we have one pool of resources when it comes to recovery. It's been shown that recovery ability does not improve at the same rate as strength and mass and all that stuff. Your recovery ability is slow to improve. So you have a one pool of recovery, and that pool of recovery resources you're drawing from, not the strength training, although that we think of it as a positive stress, it is still stress on the system. And then you can have, stress from family, from relationships, from school, from jobs, from finances, right? All those things are draining off that same pool of resources. So you have to keep that in mind too. These things can affect it. And in my training journals, I actually like to write down notes about that sort of thing. Like if I come in and I had a workout and then I notice something's off, I might realize like had a lousy night's sleep last night, or had a fight with my partner, or I had, whatever, so I'm stressed out. So if you, depending on the types of notes you keep, it can really be beneficial when you look back and try to, because you're doing that experiment of one and trying to see all the different little variables that can be impacting the outcomes of your training.
There you are. So how do we prevent overtraining from happening in the first place? Because it's, if you're already there, if you're, you've been bench pressing 3 times a week and your wrists are hurting and your elbows are hurting and your shoulders are hurting and you're stopped looking forward to going to the gym and you're most excited when you leave, what can we do to make sure we don't ever get to that place in the first place?
Yeah. So a lot of, coaches or athletes do what they call deloads, right? And they do plan that into their training. If they're doing any kind of periodized plan or even linear periodization, many of the smarter programs have deloads. Some of the classics like BFS, Wendler's 531, a lot of them have these planned in, so that they're going to recognize that you're building, and you got to take a step back. So a deload could be fine. Sometimes in the high intensity training world, what they call those NTF, not to failure days, right? Where you're stopping shy of your best efforts on purpose. Most classic systems will deload by training lighter weight. Now, keep in mind, if you're training lighter weight and still trying to go to failure, you're not actually deloading. You're not giving yourself an easier day. Just if you usually train 250 for 7 reps to failure, and instead you trained 200 for 15 reps to failure, you're not really giving yourself a break.
You're still fatiguing that whole entire spectrum of muscle fiber.
So you can deload by stopping short of failure on purpose. But honestly, for our purposes, we recommend just not training at all. It's the best way to be sure that you're resting. And we have a lot of trouble with this. We have clients that are hard chargers and they get an injury and then they say, oh yeah, I'm resting. I'm only training at 80% of my normal. Plus I'm only swimming 3 days a week. I'm like, well, you're not actually resting, right? So no wonder things are not repairing as quick as they could. Real rest is just chilling out, and it makes a difference.
Yeah, or active rest, right? Like what's an active way that you can recover? How about go get a massage?
There we go.
How about, I mean, there's some, right? A massage is a great way. I've talked about some research that Bill Campbell, who's a PhD, go follow him on Instagram also. He talks about how massage is the most effective recovery technique for soreness. Some other stuff you can try, like cryotherapy or hot colds. You could take a cold shower followed by a hot shower. You could do an ice bath. There are a lot of different things, just stretching or very light exercise too. Go do some yoga, take a nice leisurely stroll, get outside in nature, and just relax.
Go skip some stones on the pond.
Skip some stones on the pond, or float on your back in the pond.
There you go.
Don't even swim, just float there. Meditate.
That's right. Think happy thoughts. So how do we prevent overtraining? One, we don't increase intensity or frequency or duration, right? We want to build up slowly, so we allow those tolerances. But again, as I said, you're not taking rest days if your deload is still training hard. If you're one of these reps in reserve guys, right, you should be leaving multiple reps in reserve. Like you should be leaving 3 to 5 reps in reserve, like stopping way short of that maximal effort. But otherwise, resting completely is going to be the best. Sleep, we always talk about. We usually recommend 7 to 9 hours. There's no perfect prescription for every person, but most of the research shows 7.5 to 10 hours. If you're in that 7 to 9 hours, you're probably doing all right. But sleep is probably the most important recovery mechanism, right? It's like, as Jesse mentioned, there's a lot going on when we're sleeping. That's when growth is occurring. That's when repair is occurring. Stuff in your brain, right? All kinds of things are happening. So sleep is great. If you're someone who's able to take naps, some people are better at it than others, then that's a really cool thing. If you can sneak in and maybe you're getting your sleep, it's not quite where you want it, but you're able to get a nap in 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there. That can be really beneficial. Some people are great at that. I'm not really good at taking naps, unfortunately. It's hard for me to sleep in the middle of the day, but other people can just crash easily. And if they can, I recommend it.
Also look at your nutrition. Are you getting enough protein? If you're doing, resistance training, if you're lifting weights and also in conjunction with that, you are, doing lots of conditioning, whether it's running or swimming or biking or whatever it might be, sprinting, then, you might need to add some more carbohydrates into your diet because you're doing so much glycolytic activity. And that's going to be different for each person. So maybe you decided recently to go keto. And since you went keto, your energy took a dip, play around with it. You probably want to give yourself, if you really want to commit, give yourself a month on the new diet to do it, or personal eating plan, as Liam likes to say, do it consistently and give yourself a shot, because sometimes it takes a little bit of time for your body to adapt to this new thing. If you go, I generally, pretty much all of us at TNT generally stick to a pretty low carbohydrate diet. I'd say all of us are easily, under 100 grams a day, which I think many people would consider low carb. A lot of the time under 50. And, we just eat some fruit basically. And those are and maybe some, vegetables are our carbohydrates for the day. So if you've recently gone from high carb to low carb or from low carb to high carb, give yourself a little bit of time to see how you feel with that and experiment and try to find the optimal range for yourself.
We talked a little bit earlier about heart rate. I do recommend, especially if you're an athlete, but I think everyone can benefit from knowing what their resting heart rate is and then monitoring it for a little while. even if you don't do it every day, if you wake up feeling a little bit off, might be a time again, like I mentioned, maybe again, your average is 60. You wake up feeling like, something's not quite right. You measure your heart rate, holy mackerel, it's 85. You definitely know something's going on. Probably a good day to take a rest day. This is the other thing where we come back to that floating schedule. This is hard, obviously, when you're working with a coach and you're paying for time and all that kind of thing. But if you're training on your own, if you have control over that, having that floating schedule is great. If you don't feel ready for any reason, take an extra day, take an extra 2 days. It's never going to hurt you, as Jesse mentioned.
Treat yourself.
Yeah, relax. You'll get a better performance on the day that you do go when you're 100% ready to do it.
That's right. Just stop it. Just stop it, you.
So we're looking at signs: resting heart rate, soreness, stiffness, all that stuff. You can, as I said, we can deload, we can adjust our intensity, we can decide to have an easy day that day. We can just take that day off. Okay. Also, we said don't hesitate to rest. Take more rest in between sessions. Create that floating schedule. Experiment. Often, what I've done is take 2 days off, 3 days off. Find that optimal time. For me, I usually find that my best time is at least 3 to 5 days between sessions. I get the most out of it. We've talked many times about our scheduled TNT where we take 1 day off, but we alternate between strength and conditioning workouts. So there's always 2 or 3 days between either one of those. This is a real optimal one that's, gets kind of solves so many problems. You get in the gym 3 times a week, but you're getting enough rest between the type of training, the modalities. You get some variety. It accomplishes a lot of things. So that's a plan to worth investigating. So try that.
Try it. It all basically boils down to do less work and do it more intensely.
Yeah. So remember, we want consistent hard work is the cornerstone of a successful strength and conditioning program, but it pays to know when to work hard and when to take a break. Listen to your body and learn when to step it up and when to back it up.
Boom, baby. What's up, people? Thank you so much for listening to this episode of
Truth, Not Trends.
That's right here at TNT Strength Headquarters, Truth Not Trends.
Please, if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, rate, and review us on whatever platform you're listening to us on. And don't forget to share with a friend.
You can find us on the web at tntstrength.com.
That's right, TNT Strength now coming to you in person at 5255 College Avenue in Oakland, California. You can call the studio 510-768-5421. You can also text us at 855-796-9905.
Or shoot us an email at contact@tntstrength.com. And whatever you do, stay off of that stupid blue bubbly bosun.
Oh no. Oh no.
Am I on or not?
You are on fire.
Mixed and edited by Desmond McNeese for We Mixed It, LLC. Go to whatsoundsawesome.com.
Son of a bitch, Cap.